Hi, this is Michael bringing you Tarot by the Tree. This is lesson 2, and we're going to look at what the Kabbalah Tree of Life is. In lesson 1, we explored the tarot cards. We decided that the tarot cards were pretty much like a modern set of playing cards. The only difference is instead of jacks, we had pages and knights. On top of what is very similar to our regular deck of playing cards are an additional 22 cards, the major arcana. These 22 cards don't have any suit, and each one is a character or a situation. Today we're going to go right into what is the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is a representation of a school of thought called Kabbalah. This is a wisdom, this is a science, this is a belief about the way the universe is structured and the way creation happens. I'll briefly go through the whole idea of creation. Before the Big Bang, before anything happened, there was nothing. But we know from quantum physics that the idea of nothing as the absence of everything cannot exist. Think of nothing instead of zero. Think of nothing as the set of -1 and +1. That was the universe in stasis. There was only one thing, there was no differentiation. Wherever you went, it was the same. There was no distance, there was no speed, therefore there was no time. Through a process of expansion and contraction, this oneness of space had a place of concentration, and that's where we start our Tree of Life. This is when nothing coalesced and we had everything contained but not realized. From this, the first pair was created instantly. This was where all the potential energy became real. It was wild energy scattered. This was where that energy was taken and concentrated, fed back up, and we have the supernal triad here. But this Sephirot, and these are called Sephirot individually, collectively Sephirot, this Sephirot then gave rise to the next pair. This was the merciful king, and this was the strict teacher. There was one other pair formed during this flash of creation, and that is our imagination and our intellect. These three pairs, along with the creative essence, all lead into a central Sephirot. Our world is way down here. It's quite dark. It doesn't get much of the upper light. And in between our world and the upper world, there is one last Sephirot, and that is like a lens that filters the above in a way that we can receive it. Those are 10 circles that are actually spheres, and they form the Tree of Life. You can see the Tree of Life represented here in the 10 spheres. We've got the bottom where we are. We have the top, which is beyond our comprehension. And then we've got 3 sets of pairs that coalesce in a central Sephirot. Just below that is a receiving Sephirot that allows us, through limited means, to start contacting the upper worlds. If we were to take these Sephirot, magically pull them apart a little, this is what we'd have. You'll notice that no lines suddenly appear, no pathways materialize. We know the order of creation, and later on in the Fool's Journey we will see he follows the same pathway back up to the top. One of the oldest pictures of the Tree of Life has its essence, which are the 10 Sephirot. We see here that there are a number of pathways. These pathways have been added by different people to represent perhaps how these emanations affect each other. They don't affect the way they were formed, the way they materialize, and they don't affect the Fool's Journey. There's only one pathway down and one pathway up. These pathways, they change over time. When they first came out, the pathways between the Sephirot were 17. That stayed for some time. Remember, this evolved hundreds of years ago. Today, if I was to construct pathways, mine would tend to number 20. But there is a big push on by many people to have these pathways number 22, which are the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. I don't know too much about that, and I understand even less. Some pictures of Kabbalah have different numbers of pathways and a different structure of pathways. Like I said, none of this really will affect us. We have our 10 Sephirot. We have the top, which is the ultimate form of creation. In a sense, it doesn't even exist. It's just potential. At the bottom, we have our world. It's called Malkuth. It's our planet Earth. Just above us is a means of reception, a means of perceiving the upper world, which consists of 3 pairs. The highest pair, which is energy expressed and energy transformed. The next pair, which is the merciful king and the severe teacher. And then our world of imagination and intellect. They all connect or converge in a central Sephirah called Tiferet, which is beauty and love. Remembering that these circles are actually spheres, we can take a couple of representations just to understand how it might look, remembering that there is no place you can ever go and you're going to see this. The discussion of are there real pathways in here is a funny discussion because none of this is real in the sense that you can actually perceive it, go to it, or visit it. You'll notice that the 10 Sephirot, although they don't have any pathways, you will notice these columns. Again, they don't really exist, but they do represent the extremes, and this is a really important part of the Tree of Life. You sort of understand at the top of the Tree of Life we have creation, at the bottom we have our world, but these two extremes are fundamental to the whole concept of what the Tree of Life is. So we're going to take a look at the Tree of Life and the central concept to the whole structure. Now we already know there's a top, which is the creative force. We have the bottom, which is our world in relative darkness. We've got 3 pairs. We've got the wild energy and the constructive energy. We've got the merciful king, the strict teacher. We've got the imagination and the intellect. We have beauty and we have our means of reception. Imagine this side, and you can go no further, this is the extreme, was actually the side of severity, and indeed that's what it's called. This side is the side of mercy. There is the middle path that is the most desirable path, and that's the path of mildness. To understand what these 2 sides are, you have to think of a continuum, and it goes between severity and mercy. And you can imagine a gardener. The gardener has a patch of ground, and one gardener tends too much to severity, one tends toward mercy a little bit too much. The gardener that tends toward severity will take great pains to keep his soil clean, to keep insects, mold, diseases out. If he goes too far, he will end up with sterilized soil that will no longer support growth. If the gardener is too far on the side of mercy, she will allow everything to grow, including mold, disease, harmful insects. Either side is wrong, and you can apply this to how you relate to your loved ones, to the word love itself, to how you conduct your day. Everything we do will vary between these two extremes of severity and mercy. The problem with these words in our current language is severity and mercy make us think sometimes of cruelty and compassion. That's not what these two are. This is not black and white. This is not good and evil. These are opposite sides of a continuum that are equally wrong. The closer you move to the center, the more correct, the more right you will be. A better way of looking at these two words is that severity is clean and mercy is grow. Too much clean and you remove the opportunity for life. Too much grow, you increase all aspects until you have competition, disease, and bad conditions. As a final recap, let's go through the Tree of Life, remembering that it began at the top where it was before the Big Bang. It was all energy. It was all potential, but no difference. Suddenly, we have unity expressed as duality, and with that we have movement, we have time, we have speed, we also have sexuality, we have the male essence and the female essence. These are the two pillars. These are the two extremes that allow mobility, change, and evolution to happen. The top one is called Kether. He's expressed by Chokmah. That energy is taken and not just expressed, but changed by Bina, who is also considered the primordial mother symbol. Bina expresses herself on a lower sphere as Chesed, the merciful king, the benevolent king. Chesed is balanced by his sister, Gevurah, who is the very strict teacher. We come next to Tiferet, which is the place of love and beauty. And finally to the last pair, which is Netzach and Hod. This is imagination, this is intellect. The sphere just above us, the Sephirot just above us, is called Yesod, the lens with which we perceive the higher worlds, and finally our world of Malkuth. This is the Tree of Life. The only other concept to keep in mind at all times is the one that this column is the sign of clean. This is the sign of severity. This is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing if you have a disease in your body that you want to get rid of. If you wash your hands to eliminate germs, these are all expressions of severity. It's necessary to keep things separate and to keep things from getting overcrowded and disease. This side is called grow. If you let it go too far in that direction, all forms of growth will occur and you will get all kinds of competition and you won't get positive outcomes from it. These exist on a continuum, and all things can be laid on this continuum, whether hate or love or an action or your hobby or your relationship. We'll end lesson 2 with just a recap of what the Tree of Life is. By this time, we have an understanding of what the tarot cards are, a playing deck plus 22 other major arcana cards. We understand what the Tree of Life is. It's a collection of 10 spheres, often represented as circles. The number 1 is at the top, number 10 is at the bottom. This pathway has been called the flaming sword or the lightning flash, many different names. This is the path that they were created, and when we look later at the Fool's Journey, this is also the path of ascension. Any other pathways are not important to our understanding of the tarot cards. Our next lesson, lesson 3, will be looking at the first of the key concepts of understanding how the tarot cards are expressed through the Tree of Life. We will be looking at the Fool's first journey as he ascends the Tree of Life from the bottom Sephirot to the top, and how each of those Sephirot will be manifested in one of the cards of the tarot deck. Bye for now.